I don't like the marketing plan that's in place in your textbook. It's way too complicated, and the outline discusses things that are just way too wordy and unnecessary. It's been frustrating me every week, and I thought, if I'm frustrated, chances are the students are as well. So let's address it, and then we can move forward more smoothly and hopefully have more fun. So I've included a sample marketing plan. I wrote it for something called Doggy Dash Indoor Park. I didn't want to do it on what you're doing because I want you to be able to come up with your own creative ideas. But looking at the cover page, you'd include what it is. It's a marketing plan. You'd include the company. If you were doing a product, if you were advertising a product within a larger company, then you would include what that product is. For example, if you had Kellogg Company, then if you were advertising for overall Kellogg, then you would just include that. But if you were doing, say, cornflakes, then it would be Kellogg cornflakes. Then you list the months that your program will run. The standard timeline is 3 months. And in our case, we're putting the owner of the business because it's a small business. Next, you'd have your table of contents. And this is so that if someone needs to flip to something specific in your plan, they can, and they can do it quickly. You don't include a whole lot of detail here. You might just include some headings and things. So your plan is divided into 2 segments. The first is your executive summary. And this is the text-based portion that just discusses your goals in general. So you start with your reason for your plan, and that would be your goals and your objectives. What do you want this plan to do? Why did you take time to create it? Next is your product and service description, depending upon whether you're doing a product or a service. And you're explaining what it is that you're marketing. As I mentioned before, are you marketing Kellogg's, or are you marketing cornflakes, or are you marketing peanut butter? What is it that you're working with going forward? You need to establish that right at the beginning. Next, you need to take a quick look at your competition, both direct and indirect, and then look at your SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and threats. The next area that you'd focus on would be your customer overview. You'd have demographics, psychographics, etc. So you want to be able to discuss what your ideal customer description is and why. And that's where the why comes in here. Be able to discuss what's important to your customer. That way you're able to say, we're doing these activities in this plan because this is what's important to the customer. And then you have the mission statement for your organization as well. The last piece in your executive summary is the program overview. And that's a high-level overview of what you're planning to accomplish in the next 3 months. What are the activities? So in our case, actually I think I gave you guys a budget of $5,000, so you'd change that. And then you would make sure that everything that you have involved doesn't go over that budget that you've set. And again, you would include your program timeline. If there was something special, you may expand on it and discuss your reasoning behind your choice for that timeline. But that would be provided in this segment. Notice that you've already done most of the work for this. You know what your budget is. It's $5,000. You know about your customers. You know about your competition. You've already done a SWOT analysis. You've already done goals and objectives, and you already know your product or service, whether you're going to be choosing landscaping or events. So what we're really focused on going forward is the second section in the plan, and that is promotion details. In the marketing plan, you break down the activities that you're going to be doing in extreme detail. I recommend doing it as if you are going to win the lottery and run away from home, and someone else has to implement your marketing plan in a successful way. Are you providing enough detail for them to be able to do that? So you need to probably go into more detail than you ordinarily would so that someone else doesn't have questions. You would include the date or dates of your activities, the time or times that it's running, where it's going to be, who's in charge of it. If there's more than one person, you would include who's responsible for what tasks, etc. And then you would go into a detailed list of activities that are going to be conducted during this, or a list of tasks that are going to be conducted during this activity. So think about all the different things that need to be done because you want to make sure they're all listed here. Now, because this is not a real world marketing plan, I'm not asking for as much detail. For example, if this were a real marketing plan, you would have a real quote from a printer regarding how many items are going to be printed and when they can be done. Or if you had a contract to rent an event center, you would include a copy of that contract, and you don't need to do that for this. Make sure that in each one you include return on investment measurement. How will you determine if that event was successful? So you need to be able, at the end of your 3-month period, to be able to answer specifically and measurably, was that activity a success? And you should be able to answer it with a simple yes or no. Did it meet the return on investment criteria that you established at the end of the plan, or at the beginning of the timeline? In our case here, this second activity is radio advertising. You can assume that radio advertising costs about $15 per ad, and oh, that's right, we lowered the amount. And you would need to run that for quite a bit in order to have the forefront of awareness for your activity. So make sure that if you do decide to use radio, that you make sure you allow for enough money to cover multiple times. Advertising once or twice, even once or twice a day, isn't going to be enough. You probably need at least 5 times per day and at least 10 days in a row. Make sure that you would include your script, and then if you choose that as an assignment, you'd also include a recording because it's fun. In this case, this one, activity 3 would be using a brochure or a coupon or something. And that you'd leave the brochures for your customers or potential customers to take. You'd include how much it costs to go from place to place and the cost of the brochures, and then you'd have a specific return on investment. Next week, we will look at some electronic options, including newsletters, Facebook, etc. And you may want to choose some of those as activities. You only need to pick 3. But you do want to make sure that you cross-promote to each one. So, for example, in your open house that you're going to be holding, you would also have brochures. In your e-newsletter, you're advertising the open house. You're also advertising that you're on Facebook. The Facebook would encourage people to sign up for the e-newsletter, and that would also encourage them to come to the open house. So make sure that you include cross promotion. Next is your marketing activities calendar. What do you have going on each day that your 3-month period has activities going? So what do you have happening? And then your last section would be appendix items. If you choose to include a brochure or a flyer, you would include examples of those. So save them as images and then just paste the images into Word. If you're going to include a discount coupon or a survey that you're going to conduct of customers, include a copy of them. Whatever you're going to provide to your customers, include examples in your appendix items. And then because this is a school project, if you have any references to include, just put those at the end. Keep in mind that you want a single theme and a single focus of that 3-month period plan. So try to make sure things tie in together visually as well as texturally. If you have any questions, let me know.